picking up a bit of a story again of from Joshua chapter 8, verse 2, where Joshua is told by God that you will destroy the people of Ai, the city of Ai, just as you destroyed Jericho. And he said, then set an ambush behind the town. That's the end of Joshua 8, verse 2. And then in verse 3, so Joshua and all the fighting men set out to attack Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 of his best warriors, sent them out at night with these orders: hide in an ambush close behind the town, be ready for action. So he brings his plan into action. He says, God says to Joshua, in fact, and then Joshua says to the people, that here is a plan that is going to enable you to come to a place of victory. And I think as Christians, sometimes we can think, well, it's just not so spiritual to plan. It's not so spiritual to have an idea of what we're going to do, where we are. Now, we can have too great a reliance on our own plans, no question. We can depend too much on our ability to reason it out, think it through, come up with all the possible issues and anticipate those ahead of time. So true. At the same time, it's not necessarily the better route to go down where we just don't have a plan at all and we just think, well, it's all going to pan out in the end. You know, God loves a plan. And when we know that God is in the plan, we don't need to sweat the details. We don't need to worry about all the little things. We just simply need to go for it. We were thinking just recently about the fact that we've been blessed with a family, with 4 children, and many of our contemporaries were waiting for the perfect time to start a family, and I understand that, the need for financial provision and certain stability, somewhere to live. Those are all important things, and I think as Jesus followers, we want to be responsible in these areas. At the same time, it's probably never a perfect opportunity. I was thinking really that if we had waited for the perfect moment for our own family, we would probably still not have children, and we wouldn't have a granddaughter as we do now. And it's easy to focus on the details and be caught up with them, and yet realize or forget to realize that God has a plan that overarches everything. So I'm not saying be irresponsible. I'm not saying cast caution to the wind. I'm saying simply get a God plan for your life, whatever that may be. Think, God, what are you saying in this? What is my strategy for moving forward? What are my next steps? What are my big milestones that I need to be looking for as I go forward? Because as you read chapter 8, verses 2 to 28, you see the people of God follow his plan. And there's some military strategy that goes on in the story there that you can read for yourself. And I want to encourage you to read that, not just listen to this podcast, but it's chapter 8, verses 2 to 28. And see what God does as a plan is executed. See, when it's a God plan, it can be a remarkable occurrence. It can be something we look back and say, look what God did. There's a difference between a God plan and a man plan, of course. A man's plan is done on his own, perhaps off the basis of experience, which can be very helpful. But if it's just an idea we have, it's not a God idea, then we don't want to be following through with that. So the Lord wants to encourage us today, listen out for his plan, his purpose. And as you take that plan one step at a time and you follow it through, you'll see what God does, see what he opens up. Some things you will have anticipated and will come as no surprise. Other things will be a complete surprise to you and you think, well, where did that come from? What's that about? Look what God has done in his mercy and his grace, because God loves a plan and he doesn't want us to sweat the details.